They didn't leave out my name on purpose. At least that's what the photographer mumbled when he squinted at his list, then at me, then back again. +1? He asked too brightly before realizing. Oh, sorry, you're Samantha, right? Chad's sister? I nodded. He moved on, flipping the page without fixing it. The family photo was already being arranged under the floral arch. All white roses and lavender, elegant and expensive. I stood just outside the frame, near a column wrapped in twinkling lights, clutching the small clutch Mom gave me years ago. She called it timeless, like that made up for the silence since. My dress was navy blue, the same one I wore when Chad graduated college. I remember because Mom said it brought us luck that day. Before the job rejections, before the apartment flood, before everyone stopped asking how I was really doing. She called it my lucky dress. I hadn't worn it since. Now here I was again, same dress, same family, but no photo. Inside, the music swelled, something classical with a modern remix, the kind that pretends to be meaningful. I stayed near the edge of the dance floor, close enough to be polite, far enough not to interrupt. No one noticed. Someone brushed past and said, "That must be the consultant, sister." The word consultant always sounded like a filler to them, like something people said when they hadn't figured life out yet. I smiled faintly, because they didn't know, and because they never asked. The place card said Samantha Fields, lowercase f, smudged ink, tucked near the edge of table 14. Not with family, not with old friends. Just somewhere between a distant cousin's ex-boyfriend and someone from Chad's college fraternity. They were already mid-conversation about crypto and hiking gear. I smiled, pulled out the chair, and quietly folded my napkin. The linen smelled like lilacs. For a second, I froze. That scent. It was from Grandma's garden, back when she used to trim the bushes in her sun hat, humming old hymns under her breath. She planted lilacs so they'd bloom just in time for big events, graduations, recitals, weddings. The scent always meant you belonged. Now it just meant money and perfume. One of the bridesmaids, glittering in satin and spray tan, leaned toward me with a practiced smile. "You're the freelance one, right?" she asked. "We didn't think you'd come." She meant it kindly, I think, or maybe not. I reached for my water glass and caught a flicker of Chad across the room, laughing, drink in hand, surrounded by friends who looked like magazine covers. "She changes jobs like outfits," he said. Someone laughed too quickly. He kept going. "We just call her the artist of unemployment." More laughter. Louder this time. I didn't react. Just let the glass touch my lips. Cool, still, grounding. The bridesmaid glanced between me and the laughter, unsure what to say. I saved her the trouble and smiled again. I've always known how to disappear when needed. I didn't go outside to cry. I went to the coat room, mostly to breathe. It was cooler there, away from the champagne clinking and curated joy. Jackets hung in neat rows like old ghosts. My fingers brushed past them, stopping at one that looked like Dad's, though it wasn't. He didn't come. Said his hip was acting up. But I knew better. He always picked a side, even when no one asked him to. I stood there, deciding if I should just leave. Call a car, make up an excuse about feeling unwell. That's when I heard heels. Soft, measured steps. Mom. She came in like she didn't mean to find me, but of course she did. She always knew where I disappeared to. Even as a kid. She didn't speak right away. Just adjusted the shawl on her shoulders and looked at me in the mirror above the coat rack. Then softly, "Please, don't ruin Chad's moment. Just be your quiet self today." It wasn't cruel, just practiced. Like something she'd said before, maybe not out loud, but in the way she looked at me whenever I tried. I nodded, not because I agreed, but because I didn't have the energy to argue. She touched my arm once, briefly, and walked out. Behind her, I saw my reflection, navy dress, faint crease down the middle, lip color fading. I looked like someone trying not to be noticed, and succeeding. A memory floated up. Uninvited. 12 years old. A local newspaper. My poem about the sea had been published. Mom cut it out, folded it into her wallet. For a little while, she carried my words next to her credit cards. But time passed. Praise faded. So did I. The garden terrace was mostly empty, just string lights overhead and the hum of a distant fountain. A few guests lingered at the bar, balancing their drinks with wedding favors and half-hearted small talk. I wasn't planning to order anything, just wanted somewhere the music couldn't follow me. Then I heard a voice, calm, measured. "You're braver than I am. I never survive these things without a drink." I turned. He was older than Chad, maybe early 40s, crisp suit, relaxed posture, the kind of man who doesn't have to prove anything. I smiled politely, unsure what to say. He offered his hand. "Elliot?" "Samantha." He nodded. "So you're the consultant." It didn't sound like a question. I hesitated. "That's what they call me." He raised an eyebrow. "Do they even know what you do?" I almost laughed. "No, but they like the mystery. Makes it easier to dismiss." He sipped his drink, studying me. Not like he was judging, but like he already knew. I glanced toward the house. "I didn't expect to stay this long." "You always this prepared?" "I'm not sure what you mean." "You haven't said a thing, but you've been watching everything. That's what analysts do, isn't it?" I froze for half a breath, then answered honestly. "I write risk assessments, mostly for financial mergers, but sometimes politics. Strategy, behavior, reputational pressure points." He tilted his head. "Wait, Samantha Fields? You wrote the Arcadia paper?" My stomach tightened. "I did." He set down his drink slowly. "That shifted my entire boardroom last fall." I looked at him, really looked this time, and that's when I realized who he was. Elliot, Chad's boss. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Elliot just studied me, like he was replaying boardroom conversations in his mind, trying to connect this quiet woman in a navy dress to the data that had once shifted millions. I didn't offer more. He didn't need it. Then the music changed. A little louder, a little showier. Someone tapped a fork against a glass and called for speeches. Elliot glanced toward the house. "Guess we're expected." We walked back in together, but not together. He veered toward the front table. I drifted near the back, close enough to hear, far enough not to be seen. Chad took the mic like it was built for him. He thanked the vendors, the families, the friends. He made jokes, polished ones, the kind that land even when they shouldn't. People laughed. The champagne helped. Then his tone shifted. "Some of us," he said, raising his glass, "took risks, built things, stepped into real roles. Others, well, some of us stayed creative. And that's fine too. Every family needs a wild card." A ripple of laughter. Polite, uncertain. He didn't look at me. He didn't have to. I kept my expression still, eyes fixed on the centerpiece in front of me. Hydrangeas. Artificial. Beautiful in a way that didn't feel honest. Elliot didn't laugh. In fact, I caught him frown. Just barely, and then glance across the room, right at me. His expression was unreadable, but he lifted his glass slightly and held it there. I didn't smile. I just mirrored him. A quiet toast between strangers. Or something else entirely. After the speeches, the music returned. Louder now, chasing everyone toward the dance floor. The lights dimmed just enough to blur the edges of the room, turning it into a collage of laughter, clinking glasses, and the soft rustle of satin. I stepped outside again. The patio was quieter, lit by the soft glow of garden lanterns. I leaned against the railing, watching dragonflies dance above the water lilies. Just for a moment, I let myself breathe. Then I heard footsteps, steady, familiar. Elliot. He joined me without a word, holding 2 glasses. He offered one, no pressure. "Still hanging back?" he asked, voice low. "It's where I do my best work." He smiled at that. We stood there, listening to the muffled music behind us. Then he said almost casually, "Are you still with Arcadia?" I nodded. "Freelance, but yes. I'm reviewing their positioning during mergers, compliance narratives, reputation strategy." He looked impressed, but not surprised. "My firm's been eyeing Arcadia," he said. "We're in exploratory talks. No one knows yet." I kept my face still. "That's interesting timing." "It is," he said. Then he glanced sideways. "We've read your work, your white paper on institutional friction. It reframed our entire approach." I didn't respond, just took a small sip from the glass. He continued. "There's a lot of noise out there. People who want attention, titles, headlines. And then there are people who shift things. Quietly. The kind the noise tries to forget." He wasn't just talking about business anymore. Back inside, someone laughed too loudly. A cousin, maybe, or one of Chad's work friends. I didn't care enough to check. Elliot spoke again, gentler this time. "I'd like to bring you in. Not Chad. You." That was the first time I realized. They'd remembered him, but they'd forgotten me. Until now. Back inside, the crowd had shifted. The DJ was announcing games now. Trivia, couples dances, toasts from the bridal party. I slipped through unnoticed, the way I always had. Near the gift table, the seating chart stood propped on an easel. Gold trim, hand-lettered cards, flourishes and ribbons and imported cardstock. I hadn't looked at it earlier. Now I did. My name was there, barely. Samantha Fields. Spelled wrong, light ink like the printer ran out. No table number beside it, just an arrow pointing toward overflow. It would have been funny if it didn't sting. I stared at it longer than I should have. And then, something else surfaced. A memory I hadn't touched in years. Chad's college essay. The one he couldn't finish. I had rewritten it for him, word for word, the night before it was due. Our parents were out of town, and he panicked. I stayed up until 2, editing between sips of lukewarm coffee. He got in. Full ride, first choice. He never said thank you, not once. I blinked the memory away, adjusted my shawl, and turned toward the back hallway. Elliot was there, standing near the kitchen entrance. He handed me a card, sleek, embossed, and heavier than it looked. "I'll be in touch," he said. Then, after a pause, "We don't advertise who we work with, but your name's already in the room." I slipped the card into my clutch without looking. No grand gesture, no scene, just quiet momentum. The kind people don't notice until it's too late. Dinner was nearly over. The lights dimmed a little more, casting everything in amber. Dessert had just been served. Some lemon raspberry tower with spun sugar and gold flakes. Pretty, empty. No one at my table touched theirs. I hadn't planned to stay this long. The MC returned to the mic, prompting one final round of acknowledgments. A few people clapped, more out of politeness than attention. The room had softened. Drinks settling in, conversations quieter now. That's when Elliot stood. No fanfare, no clink of glass, just calm presence, the kind that silences a room without trying. "I'd like to thank the bride and groom," he said, "for a beautiful evening." Everyone clapped. Then he continued. "There's someone else here tonight who made a difference, not just in my life, but in how my firm evaluates risk, strategy, and human capital." People shifted in their seats. Chad sat straighter. Elliot paused, letting the moment stretch. "Her work changed how we think, how we make decisions. She redefined how we handle volatility, not with volume, but clarity." Chad glanced around, almost amused, waiting for the compliment to land where he thought it should. Elliot turned and looked at me. "Miss Fields," he said. "It's an honor. We should have hired you sooner." The room didn't gasp. It didn't need to. Silence did all the work. Forks paused midair. A few heads turned. One of the bridesmaids dropped her napkin. Chad's mouth parted slightly, but no sound followed. I didn't speak, didn't stand. I just lifted my glass. A small nod. No performance. And Elliot? He nodded back like it had already been settled. Because it had. After that, things didn't go back to normal. Not right away. The music started again. Upbeat, a little too loud, like the DJ had been told to lighten the mood. But the energy in the room had shifted. You could feel it in the way people spoke, more cautious now. In the way their eyes followed me, then quickly looked away. I didn't seek anyone out, but they came, slowly. A second cousin I hadn't spoken to in years leaned in and whispered, "I always thought you were just quiet. Didn't realize you were actually working." Another guest, someone from Chad's firm, offered a soft congratulations, then quickly asked if I was taking new clients. I didn't answer, just smiled, real this time. Not the kind I used to force at birthdays and barbecues. This one had weight. Chad didn't come over. He stood near the bar, glass in hand, nodding along to someone's story without really listening. His fiancée, now his wife, kept glancing between us, like she was trying to make sense of something that no longer fit. Elliot found me once more, just before leaving. "See you Monday?" he asked. I nodded. Nothing dramatic, no handshake, no raised voice or dramatic exit, just an agreement. Between equals. I'd be consulting on the Arcadia acquisition, Chad's division, but Elliot never said that part out loud. And I didn't ask. It wasn't about revenge. Not anymore. It was about being in the room, and no longer needing to explain why. I left before the dancing really began. No announcements, no drawn-out goodbyes, just a quiet exit through the side hallway, past the same coat room where Mom had found me earlier. Outside, the air had cooled. The sky was soft with stars, the kind you don't notice until you're alone. When I got home, there was a voicemail. From her. Her voice was measured, like she was reading from a script she wasn't sure she believed. "I'm glad you're doing well," she said. "It was nice. Seeing you. Chad's under a lot of pressure now. Maybe you two could talk. Maybe you could help him." She didn't apologize. She didn't ask how I felt. Just suggested, like old times, that I play the steady one. Again. I didn't call back. Instead, I reached for a notebook tucked inside my kitchen drawer. The kind with recipe clippings and half-finished grocery lists. I turned to a blank page, and I wrote down a recipe. Lemon pound cake. The one Grandma used to make. The one no one else ever bothered to learn. The one Mom said wasn't worth the time anymore, but I remembered every step. I still had the old paper tucked between the pages of a book no one ever borrowed. When I finished writing, I tore the page out, folded it neatly, and mailed it to myself. No note, no explanation, just a quiet reminder of everything they forgot. And everything I still carried. A week passed before I opened the envelope. It had arrived just like any other piece of mail. Nothing special about the handwriting or the stamp. But I knew what was inside. I had sent it after all. I unfolded the recipe and laid it flat on my kitchen counter. The handwriting was mine. The memory wasn't. It belonged to a version of me no one remembered. The one who used to bring lemon cake to school functions. Who stayed up late retyping essays. Who made sure birthdays were celebrated, even when no one else did. I lit a candle. Lilac-scented. Same as the wedding. Same as Grandma's garden. The air filled slowly, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was chasing something, or proving something, or waiting for someone to see me. I stood by the window, watching the city hum along below, a soft, indifferent rhythm. Then I did something small. I opened a folder on my laptop, one labeled Drafts, and deleted the emails I'd never sent. The ones that began with, "I'm sorry if I made things awkward," and ended with, "I just wanted to explain." I didn't need them anymore. I didn't need them to know what I'd built or what they'd missed. I wasn't angry, not really, and I wasn't triumphant. Just clear. The boardroom was glass on 3 sides, the kind of space designed to impress without trying. I arrived early. Not out of nerves, just habit. My notes were already in order, though I wouldn't need them. I'd written the brief Elliot used to secure the partnership. I'd shaped the narrative. framed the risk. I didn't need to remind myself what I already knew. The door opened. He entered first, Elliot, with the same calm presence he'd carried at the wedding. Behind him came the rest of the team, department heads, strategists, one of the regional directors, and Chad. He didn't see me right away. He was mid-conversation, distracted. But when he did, he stopped. Just for a second. No outburst, no dramatic pause. Just that flicker in his eyes, the shift from assumption to reality. I nodded, polite, professional. The way people do when introductions aren't necessary. He took his seat. Elliot sat across from me and began the meeting without ceremony. "This is Samantha Fields," he said. "She'll be leading external consulting on Arcadia's integration strategy." No one questioned it. No one asked why. Because here, I wasn't the sister. I was the expert in the room, the one they'd almost overlooked. I didn't smile to prove anything. I didn't look his way again. I opened my notebook, and the meeting began. They mocked the surface. They never looked beneath it. But I did. And that's why I'm here.